Good afternoon. We start with the upcoming Seoul Tokyo Summit. Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida is set to arrive in Seoul this Sunday for talks with President Yoon Suk-yeol. The two leaders will address a range of issues, with Japan's planned release of wastewater from its destroyed Fukushima nuclear power plant possibly included. Our presidential office correspondent Oh Soo-young has the details.
During their summit this weekend, the leaders of South Korea and Japan are likely to discuss trilateral cooperation with the United States on North Korean supply chains, as well as possibly Tokyo's plan to release treated nuclear wastewater into the ocean. On Thursday, Seoul's top office spokesperson Lee Do-eun told reporters that President Yoon Suk-yeol and Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida would discuss issues of common interest, such as security, high-tech industries, science and technology, youth exchanges, and cultural cooperation. With the summit expected to take place Sunday afternoon and a banquet with their wives afterwards. The spokesperson said the second Yoon-Kishida summit shows that the top-level shuttle visits between the two leaders are now in full swing.
Through his national security advisor, Takeo Akiba, Prime Minister Kishida conveyed his high regard for the president's bold decision to improve bilateral ties and decided to make this trip a way of returning his gratitude.
On Wednesday, National Security Advisor Cho Tae-yong met with his Japanese counterpart Takeo Akiba, who came to Seoul to prepare for Kishida's visit, including the agenda. According to Yoon's office, the top security advisors agreed on the need to strengthen security cooperation with the United States amid growing nuclear threats from North Korea. They also attended an inaugural session of an economic security dialogue focusing on enhancing supply chain resiliency and energy security. Also, according to a senior presidential aide, Seoul and Tokyo may well discuss Tokyo's plan to discharge 1.3 million tons of treated wastewater from the Fukushima nuclear power plant in the summer. The official said if the safety of the radioactive wastewater is a concern to the Korean media and the public, there is no need to exclude it from the agenda. Still, the official noted that South Korea is part of an IAEA safety review task force on Japan's wastewater disposal plan. While the International Atomic Energy Agency has green-lighted the move, Japanese fishermen and civil activists, as well as surrounding countries including South Korea, the Pacific Islands and China, have protested against the move, as scientists and environmental activists warn of the possible impact on human and marine life and question the credibility of Japan's safety reports. Kishida's two-day visit follows Yoon's trip to Tokyo in March, after his administration decided to compensate the Korean victims of Japan's wartime forced labor without forcing contributions from Japanese firms. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
Tune in to Arirang News on Sunday for live coverage of the Seoul Tokyo Summit and panel discussions. Now we turn to the latest on the drone attack in Moscow. The Kremlin is now accusing the U.S. of being behind the attack after previously pointing its fingers at Ukraine. The U.S. flatly denies the claims. Our Lee Soo-jin has the latest.
The United States firmly denied Russian claims that the U.S. was behind the drone strikes inside Russia. A spokesman for Russian President Vladimir Putin, Dmitry Peskov, accused the U.S. of orchestrating Wednesday's explosions at the Kremlin, but failed to provide any evidence. Video footage shows two drones striking Moscow, with one of the two hitting a flagpole on the rooftop of the Kremlin Senate, where Putin's official residence is located. Russia described it as a direct attack on Putin's Kremlin residence that was intended to kill him. Putin was not in the building during the attack. Russia initially blamed Ukraine for the attack, but quickly shifted the blame to the U.S. for dictating the attack. Ukraine immediately denied that it had any role in the drone strikes, claiming that Russia was attempting to use this to justify further military actions in Ukraine. White House spokesperson John Kirby also strongly denied the accusations.
One thing I can tell you for certain is that the United States was not involved in this incident in any way, contrary to Mr. Peskov's lies. And that's what they are, just lies.
He also added that the U.S. is trying to gather more information.
I said we're still looking at this. We haven't come to any conclusions one way or the other. We're going to try to learn more, but let's not label it a report or an investigation or anything like that. We're doing the best we can to try to find out what happened. But
A day after the drone strikes on Moscow, Russian forces struck Kyiv with drones and missiles as air raid sirens rang across Ukraine. This was the third attack on the capital in 4 days. Meanwhile, Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky made a surprise visit to The Hague on Thursday, home to the International Criminal Court, where he once again called for an independent tribunal to hold Russia accountable for its war crimes. 이수진, Arirang News.
The European Central Bank has raised its key interest rate by 25 basis points to 3.75% as it continues to fight inflation. The ECB's announcement on Thursday marks a slowdown in pace after it had raised 0.5 percentage points for the third consecutive time before this. In a statement, the ECB said the inflation outlook continues to be too high for too long. Earlier this week, inflation figures showed a 7% on-year increase for April. ECB President Christine Lagarde said the latest decision was nearly unanimously agreed on, adding the work will continue as they have more to do. Now, as South Korea hosts the annual meeting of the Asian Development Bank, we'll look at one of the ADB's biggest infrastructure projects in the Philippines that's looking to dramatically ease traffic congestion in Manila. Our Lee Dae-hyun reports.
It's going to be the longest railway in the Philippines. The North-South Commuter Railway, comprising 3 major sections, will stretch about 150 kilometers once completed.
What you see behind me is the construction site of the Malolos-Clark Railway, one of the most biggest transportation projects that's currently taking place here in the Philippines.
The North-South Commuter Railway will link the growth centers of the city of Clark, where the international airport is located, with central Manila and Calamba City to the south of the capital. It's expected to offer commuters speedy public transport, as it will cut travel time from 4 hours to less than 2 hours.
Will bring about a faster and more efficient access for people, faster and more efficient routes for goods and services. So people back and forth travel time, back and forth access between the regions will be greatly improved.
Currently, 1/10 of railways in the Philippines are operational due to the lack of investment. This causes major traffic congestion in the Manila metropolitan area, which also leads to economic losses as well. According to data released by the Philippines government, road congestion in the region resulted in $24.8 billion of losses in 2016. To expand the transport infrastructure, the Department of Transportation and ADB aims to complete the railway by 2029. This project will bring environmental benefits like cutting carbon emissions, as one railway compartment is expected to replace 1,100 cars. The Asian Development Bank has invested $7 billion into the project, making it the biggest infrastructure project that the bank has ever taken part in. South Korea's construction businesses are also participating in the project, with construction orders for Hyundai and POSCO Engineering and Construction both totaling over $712 million.
Since the build policy from the Duterte administration, the Philippines is conducting large-scale infrastructure developments. Korea's corporations have lots of experience based on decades of overseas construction projects, which is why we have decided to use our ability to contribute to the railway project.
In fact, the project is creating more jobs, with more than 2,000 Filipinos employed by POSCO for the construction. This aligns with the government's plan to boost the economy through infrastructure investment, as well as ADB's goal to support social and economic development in Asia-Pacific nations. Lee Dae-hyun, Arirang News, Manila.
Today is a national holiday here in South Korea as the country celebrates Children's Day. But the southern island of Jeju continues to see flight cancellations and delays for the second day in a row due to heavy rain and strong winds. According to Jeju International Airport, as of 10 a.m., a total of 198 flights have been or will be grounded. Flights are gradually resuming, but the airport urged passengers to closely monitor flight schedules that can change depending on the weather conditions. Some 10,000 travelers were affected by flight delays, including some 6,000 students who went on school trips. Heavy rain is also affecting the country's southwestern Cholla region, prompting cancellations of ferries. That's all for this hour. We'll be back with more updates at 6 p.m.